You said reduce the use of energy, but the main objective is to minimize the use of oil or eliminate overall the use of oil.
Well, we see that oil has been unique in the history of the world, and although it is possible to substitute with other energy sources, what we have done with oil, the net energy return to society from all of the alternatives that are practically available, be they more dilute or problematic fossil resources like coal or tar sands or all of these, or renewable energies like solar and wind, all have less net energy return. So therefore, the energy available to society, the net energy, we believe will decline in this future we call the energy descent future. And what that means is that society will be forced to restructure itself in ways that use less energy in total. And what that will mean is agriculture will become more important rather than the very small part of human society that it's been in the fossil fuel era, and that things will be done at a smaller scale, things will be done in an integrated way, with a greater diversity of approaches in different places. And in fact, this is what, when we go through the 12 permaculture principles, we see all of these things involve a redesign around using less energy. Now, of course, this relates to my work in the future scenarios work in explaining this concept of the energy descent future. And I accept that if humanity by some means moves into what I call the techno-stability future based on free renewable energy, or continues on some trajectory of enormously expanded energy through nuclear power or some other imagined way, then we could expect permaculture to have very, very little influence in the future of society. That's just inevitable, because it's energetically, these things are energetically driven. They're not driven out of ideology or human values. Human values are actually driven by energy availability. But we see that in some form the future is a world where there will be less energy in each succeeding generation for many generations into the future. And therefore, the issue is not just the reduction in fossil fuel, it is the reduction in energy use in total. Ironically, what that means is that more of the economy in the future will be devoted to getting energy. In the same way that in the historic past, agriculture as humanity's way of harvesting energy in the form of food was a bigger part of society. So we see in the future energy getting, both agricultural and other ways of getting energy, will become much, much more important. But the net energy available to support the other aspects of social complexity will be less. So there is this issue that's very important there. But the way that expresses itself for agriculture is in two forms. One is especially in the form of nitrogen fertilizer, and the other is in phosphorus.
Yes.
Because firstly, the phosphorus, there is no elemental substitute for phosphorus, and we have pretty much peaked in the world's supply of phosphates. So that recycling of all of that waste already in the agricultural system animal wastes and human waste back to agriculture is, in the long term, the limit to world sustainable food production. And the nitrogen, 50% of the nitrogen in agriculture, and therefore in our human bodies, came from natural gas, both in terms of the feedstock to create the fertiliser that is then in our bodies as protein, and the energy used by the Haber-Bosch process to actually extract that nitrogen out of the atmosphere. So we can say that when cheap fossil fuels go away, we are operating on maybe half the amount of nitrogen, the natural nitrogen. Now, of course, permaculture focuses a lot on nitrogen-fixing plants and making that part of the biological side of agriculture as efficient as possible. But it also suggests that, yes, we will be using natural gas to continue to make fertiliser when we are no longer using it maybe to heat our houses, because this is actually, a very important use that we would not want to see disappear completely or quickly, even though people involved in permaculture systems might not use any of those things because their focus is on how we recycle organic materials and support nitrogen fixation. But those are two examples of this dependence on non-renewable energy that is